Welcome to the Wisdom Circle. To subscribe or follow us on your favorite podcast platforms, please visit us at www.thewisdomcircle.com.
Welcome to the Wisdom Circle. My name is Tony Ponturo, along with my good friend Ray Warren. And believe it or not, this is our third episode. So hopefully some of you have already seen episode 1 and 2. So we're getting a lot of great feedback. We always want to get your input. So remember, you can go on the website, thewisdomcircle.com. Let us know what you think or have a question that you may want to ask us that we'll tell on the air. But first of all, Ray, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm here. It's a beautiful day. I think, when I think it was algebra or geometry that said 3 dots make a straight line. 2, you don't know if you have a straight line. But now we're on our third episode. I think we have something cooking here. Our audience seems to be growing. It's just so much fun. I mean, it took us 6 months to get started, but good things take time. So I'm feeling great.
One of the things I think we learned about each other, we've only known each other for 40 years, so that's it takes time. But we learned that a lot of you probably have taken personality tests out there. If you work for a company that wants to understand who you are, sort of by some scientific measure,
Briggs, Stratton, or somebody like, right?
Yeah, Briggs and Stratton, I believe, and we learned. And you may just be able to tell it from how we come across it on personalities. I am comfortable getting from A to Z, but not needing to see B through Y. Ray, on the other hand, needs to see B, C, D, E, F, all the way to C. So that's been interesting as we develop the podcast. And so,
but your Z is always my Z. Like, yeah. I just get there slower.
Right.
And my other wife will tell you the same thing. She's like, why did it take you so long? Sorry. I think through, and, I don't have the gut. You guys have better guts than me.
I don't know what.
Or higher self-esteem, maybe.
That's right. Well, we have a question. We selected ones so that our audience understands when we say send a question, we will read some of them on the air. And someone had a good question about, okay, if I'm an up-and-coming athlete, how do I actually get a sponsor? How do I interact with sponsors and partnerships? So Ray has one that's short to answer this question. So,
well, thank you, and thank you for the question. We'd love to have too many to talk about. We had a few, but we just thought, let's just start with one and see how the audience likes that. And it's a whole new world out there for athletes to even connect, previously to being on a professional team. So one of the most important things goes back to our last episode about branding. It was about Toyota branding, but it was also about Deidre DeLilly's personal brand and our brands, and you are a brand. So the first thing you have to do as a young up-and-comer is think about what you want your brand to be. Tony made a comment last week about, nobody else can be you, so be you, and that's your brand. So I think the first thing is, you got to know your brand. You should have a strategy. What are your goals to be an up-and-coming sponsorable athlete? Do you just want to make money? Do you want to have a cause that you want to grow and be able to help grow with money? It's all about money at some point in terms of sponsorships and return on investments. And I think that knowing your target audience, like who your sport, if it's football, that's one target audience. If it's lacrosse, it's another. If it's table tennis, it's a third. And they're all very big audiences. So know who your audience is. And I think finally, at some point, you can go out to local businesses where you'll find restaurants and bars and car dealers who might really be interested in you and your brand and what you want to do, but you have to have a bit of a presentation or a profile or something that you can talk off of. And then at some point, you're going to have to reach out to the big rep companies that represent athletes like Octagon, like CAA, like Endeavor. And that's kind of the 4-step process, I think it was. And so I think that's you got to build your brand first. You have to know what you want to do with it. And then you have to start to market yourself.
And the only thing, and those are all great suggestions, and for people to think about, even people just starting a career that isn't an athlete, I think it all has great,
Good point.
value. The other thing is, I had an old, well, it wasn't old, but it was a long time ago, basketball coach who used to always say, "Meet the ball halfway. If you wait for the ball to reach your hands, chances are it's going to be stolen. So meet the ball halfway." And so think of that with your career is, no one's going to come to you and knock on your door and say, "Hey, I think you're the next, pickleball champion in the country," right? You need to go out there. So let's just use pickleball since I brought it up. Is go to events. Look at your area. Are there sporting events in your area in the sport that you're in, and go attend it and go meet people and go observe and try to say hello to those that look like they're in charge. Know who the sponsors are, and then follow.
I was going to say, look around and look for signs, and who are paying money to put their sign up, and then write that down or put it in your phone. Write that down. That's dinosaur. Add it to your notes on your iPhone.
Yeah, and maybe this is a bit of a digress on the question, but Ray and I both, when we worked at BBDO Advertising in the mid-'70s, we had a boss called Bob Levinson. And I had an experience where there was an office open. Didn't have any windows. It looked a little bit like a jail cell, but it wasn't. And I kept waiting. It seemed that should be my office just in the sense of seniority, but it stayed open for about a month. And finally, my boss said, I said, "Why isn't Bob Levinson giving me that office?" And he said, "Well, he's waiting for you to tell him that's your office. In other words, he thinks you're too nice. You're waiting for things to happen." So he came down the hallway one day at 6:00, and I said, "I'm moving into the office." He said, "It's about time." So again, that's an example from 40 years ago, but it's about, no one's going to hold you by the hand. You've got to take the lead.
How is it possible that after, I know you said 40, and I'm going to just do the Ray thing and say it's 46 years of knowing each other. But I can't believe I missed a story. That's a great one.
Yeah, you probably have moved on to Benton and Bowles probably at this point, which is why
No, because I think I wound up moving into that office with you, or we were sharing a cubicle somewhere along the way. It's still, either way, it was a great story. And I didn't hear it. So, wow, something fresh.
Great. We're learning something every day. So, on to our guest today and our topic. So, when we were spending about 6 months to talk about this podcast so we could hopefully do it right and correctly, we bounced around titles. Obviously, we ended up with the Wisdom Circle. But at one point, we had a title called Two Boomers and a Z. So that's the title of our episode today.
Well, Tony, that's a really good point. It did take us a while, 6 months. And I think we had another title at the very beginning, which I don't recall at the moment. But I think this is a good time to shout out to Ramon Ramos, who is our producer and works really hard, keeping us honest, keeping us looking good, and keeping this podcast going. So Ramon, from Tony and I, very much a big thank you. Ramon is really the glue and the reason we're here with something to show. So without that conversation, it's a great thing. Ramon and I worked together for a little bit, well, a few years actually, at Comcast and NBC Sports Regional Networks. He is a master of many different talents, not the least of which is technology. So thanks again. And if on any point coming in or out, you're hearing some music that you like, we feel like we should also let everyone know that the music is provided by a band called Me and You, MENU. It's on Instagram and Spotify and probably other platforms that I will do a better job next time knowing all of them. I know those two. I'm not sure they're on Apple Music, but for sure Spotify, and they can be found on Instagram. And they have some tasty tunes.
And now we're excited to introduce our guest for today, Sidney Bruner. Welcome to our guest, Sidney Bruner. Sidney, welcome to the Wisdom Circle.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you guys today. I watched the first 2 episodes, which were great. So kudos to you both, and to Sierra and Deidre. They absolutely killed it. So set the bar very high. I hope that I can deliver today.
Well, you're brave to talk to both Ray and I. It's sort of a 2-on-1, so we know you're
But we're
gonna have
nice.
to do it. I should explain to our audience. Sydney and I have met actually through her parents who are friends. Uh, Sydney and I have talked about career and a little bit of mentorship. But as you'll soon find out, she sort of has a very clear vision of what she wants to do and how she's going to get there. Sydney is a graduate of Ohio State. I know you're a proud Buckeye for all those great alumni around the country. And currently is a marketing associate at Baker Tilly. And just to keep growing, has just been accepted, and congratulations for this,
Amazing.
to the Kellogg School, which he's going to be doing on weekends and nights. So not a lot of spare time for you, Sydney.
Yeah, I'm gearing up for the big life change that will be going to work and school and kind of letting that be my life. But I'm super, super excited to, yeah, as you said, continue to grow.
Well, you're setting the bar very high for yourself, which is impressive.
Yeah, I'm up for the
Exactly.
challenge. I like a good challenge.
I can tell.
And so one of the things, at one point I had said in sort of preparation, it's like baby boomers versus Gen Z. And I said, it's not really versus, it's what's the different attitudes and style. And I think, we always try to cross both life and business, because you could be in a business environment. You could be, give away a little bit. Your mom's a very successful businesswoman. Your dad was a very successful police officer in Cincinnati. So you've seen sort of different sides of success. And, so for Ray and I will speak for Ray, I think when we went into the workplace, and I'll speak for me, Ray, and then you speak for yourself, obviously. We were sort of driven by, we're going to work for one company, we're going to be successful. I think I was driven by, I don't want to fail as much as anything else. And I was told in my first job, okay, you're not going to work for this company your whole career. You're going to use that somewhat of a stepping stone. But I think as a boomer, at least for me, I was very driven, and probably very much with blinders on, which is, it's my job. I got to do well. I got to be successful. It wasn't so much about the money, but it was, I don't want to be a failure. And that sort of drove me, at least from the beginning of my career, of how do I move forward to be successful? Ray?
Yeah, I'm different take. So without getting maudlin, my parents passed away when I was in college, and so I was surviving. I had to make money. I had to make money to pay bills. I was cooking in a pancake house, and I wanted to be a DJ, and my cousin came to me and said, I can't get you a DJ job, but they have a radio buyer job open at Ted Bates Advertising. And, for the lofty sum of $8,000 a year, I took it. And so mine was more about, paying bills, and just, didn't care if I liked it or not. And I loved it. I loved negotiating. I loved media. I loved spreadsheets. That's what Tony talked about, the A to Z. I love 13-column pads with a pencil. I mean, if I tell you how we did it back in the day, it was very different. No Excel spreadsheets. But that was just, feed yourself, pay your rent.
So, Sydney, give us a little background on, how your mind is working through all of this. How are you taking your steps? What's important to you? Let's just start there. How are you taking these steps, and how do you look at sort of things relative to life and relative to your career?
Yeah, I think that maybe a little bit different, Tony, on the idea of like staying at one company. I think maybe me and my peers would think that, we can maybe jump a little bit quicker. There's, I think, a lot of people boomerang too, which like going to a different company, coming back. But maybe that idea of just like wanting to always be better and do better. I think like not only for yourself, I think that's a huge motivation for me. It's just, I feel like I hold myself to a very high standard, and I've always been motivated to even exceed that standard, I feel like. But doing that for myself and kind of challenging myself in that way, but also with the end goal of like trying to make an impact on the people that I work with, or the people that my company touches. Those kind of things I think are really big drivers for me personally, and I think probably my generation. I know I'm young and haven't had many mentorship opportunities where I've gotten to be the mentor, but have had a couple. And I just recently mentored an intern, and that was it was a huge thing for me. I loved it. So I think that's a part of it too. Just feeling fulfilled in that way of helping other people.
That is a sea change. It's amazing to me, and I do believe it exactly speaks to the Gen Z and the boomers. So when we got into business, I'll speak for me, and then Tony, you can speak for you. We just wanted to get ourselves ahead. We were not particularly interested in helping others grow. We were so concerned about staying relevant, getting promoted, etc., that sometimes you would lose sight of helping other people. I think that's so much more a Gen Z mentality, and a good one, by the way. But we were in a very competitive world. You are too. You're in a more competitive world than we were. But we never thought about it. I'm speaking for me. I never thought about how can I help the guy next door. I was really more thinking about how can I just be better than him and get the next promotion or her. Back in the day, it was a lot more he's, but now it's more he's and hers. And whatever they want to call themselves.
About your generation, so that you're sort of digitally native. In other words, you grew up with smartphones and social media. When I was at Anheuser-Busch and computers and PowerPoints came on, they literally had to take away the acetate machines, and those, which were these machines where you would put a film piece of presentation on and it would project up on a board, because we would not use the PowerPoints. It's like, because that was foreign. And they said, well, you're going to have to use them if the machines are gone. And now this is just like, it's like second thought for you. I mean, it is what it is. Tell me, and this is more of a question, but it help us also understand the thinking. I believe you work mobily. I know that I would have gone nuts working mobily. That to me, and this is, I think, a boomer thing, is, or and we're generalizing a little bit for the audience because everyone's going to say, well, I'm a boomer and I like mobile, working. But the interaction with people, the camaraderie, the friends made, all of that, I can't imagine not doing that. So assuming you like the mobile working, why do you like it? And do you get some of that camaraderie and feedback in other ways?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great question. And even when I was thinking about the differences between boomers and Gen Z, remote work was definitely came top of mind. We did even some remote school, some of us, and then starting the workforce in remote. And honestly, I view it as a huge opportunity. I think maybe Gen Z and remote work gets a lot of bad rap of, oh, are these young professionals developing? But I think it's the same in the office. If you're not motivated to make those connections in the office and grow and all those things, it doesn't matter that you went to the office. So as long as you're seeking those opportunities, which you can do in a virtual setting too, I think that you have a real opportunity to excel. So I've found that I really like it. I intentionally try to meet up with people in person for coffee, lunch, a happy hour, in the office too, to do collaboration days or a video shoot, or big team meetings. And then also virtually, there's so many opportunities that I think young professionals can take advantage of. I try to, a couple times a month, meet with people virtually, just have a coffee chat. It's like, I understand in those 30-minute meetings when you get down to business a lot of the times, it's like we have an agenda that we need to get through, but to take those other 30 minutes and just have a coffee chat with someone is, get to know what their role is like at work. What are the daily things that they have to deal with, but getting to know them outside of work too. That helps you learn how to collaborate with someone. But it also just like kind of builds that like camaraderie and that you're a team. And, it's that we're all on the same team here. We should be going together, like united, and really try to help out the person next to you. So I think that with remote work, there's really great opportunities for people who are motivated, kind of to maybe it might just be a little bit more of a self-selection. Like, hey, I want to go do this. I'm gonna get after it, and I'm gonna do the things that I know I need to do to get there. So I think it's a great opportunity for driven young professionals. Also, just I'll continue my rant here a little bit more, but I think there's a great opportunity for personal growth that happens when you're remote. You get to start the day maybe instead of commuting with going to the gym, getting a workout in, having a healthy meal before you start the day. You also maybe have more opportunities to travel and see the world. And I think that's huge, especially in marketing, to go out and see what's going on around you and bring that back to your work. So I think there's lots of great opportunities with it.
That's great.
That is really well said, and it's a bit of an eye opener. I can see you're very passionate about it, and I don't know that I am passionate about the way we went to business. That was the way it was. You got your briefcase, you went to Brooks Brothers, you bought the suit and the tie, and you had the monogram on your shirt. And the pandemic changed everything, and I think that the world we live in changed many things. I use the word in the either the mentorship or one of the last two episodes. I use the term self-select about people who are in the hybrid or the mobile environment, and in some ways that's really good. In some ways, I wonder if it gives people who might not be so good working in that environment, who might be really good, the opportunity to be seen. And so the question I have for you, you talked a lot about collaboration and working with your team members and helping each other. What about advancement? In the current world, I don't know, you're in a professional services company, so I'm guessing there are some folks who are boomers, and they may have come up in something like the world Tony and I came up in. So other than self-selection, like, do you have a coffee with your boss's boss, or do you ever see your boss's boss, or like, how do you work? And I'll use this term work, and I mean, like, how do you work those senior managers of your company without being in the office? And that's just a question. I'll leave it right there.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I feel like I try to be really intentional about it. I've just like sent an email to a partner that I knew I was going to be working with the next couple of months. I was like, hey, I'm going to be in your area. Want to get breakfast? And she's not even my direct boss, but I just, she's a very powerful, just like woman leader at our company. And I was like, I want to connect with you more. So I think those opportunities where you just can't be afraid to send that email and be like, hey, could we meet and chat? I also have, never really turned down opportunities. So I would say always being available and saying yes to things. Right when I started at Baker Tilly, I was invited to come to a team meeting in our Madison, Wisconsin office with our innovation team. And I was the youngest person there. Everyone was like manager and above. A lot of senior management in the room, and it was my first business trip. I was nervous. Like I didn't really know what to go like and do and how to show up there. But I kind of just settled in and realized, hey, I can be myself. And I think I'm also really fortunate to be at a company that wants to hear voices from younger people. So when I came into that meeting and, I was putting ideas out there in front of senior management, and they're like, yeah, that's a great idea. Wouldn't have thought of that. And just to have that like level of respect and that, I don't know, they kind of welcomed my ideas as well. So I think that's a huge thing, is like not saying no to opportunities that, that you could get some FaceTime with upper management. Right. And then just show up, be present when you're there and really be a contributing factor to whatever you guys are working on.
Did your partner say yes to breakfast?
Yes, she did. We had a wonderful
Cool.
breakfast.
See, that to me is a big deal. That's a bigger deal than asking. It's awesome that you asked, but it's even bigger and more awesome that she said, hey, let's have a breakfast. And that is, to me, kind of like that's the magic right there of this new generation of going.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
question.
totally. And just to give her some kudos too, is that she's like a partner on our service side. So by no means was my direct report. So for her to take I don't report to her at all. So for her to take that time to chat with me, and yeah, it was awesome.
Cool.
We probably have to end with one more question, but we're going to let you ask a question, if you have one, for Ray or I or both. As you can tell, we're not shy.
I was curious, what is one thing that you guys think that Gen Z could learn from boomers? And then maybe on the flip side of it, is there anything that you've learned from a Gen Zer that you're like, oh, I wish maybe I had known that in my career and applied that?
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I think I'll start. I think what a Gen Z can learn from us is, and I used to, when I taught after my Anheuser-Busch days at NYU and Columbia, I always wanted to encourage a younger person to at least listen, to not say, well, you're a baby boomer, you're too old, you're not going to be relatable. Now, it's also important for the baby boomer to talk in a relatable way, not to talk down to the person like, this is how we did it, and we were right. But there's a lot of experience that you can learn, a bad analogy I used to say is experience is, using myself as an example, is I've been hit by the locomotive coming down the track, right? I've made mistakes. I now, with you, can see that locomotive coming and I can push you off the track so you don't get hit. So just sort of understand that you can learn some things from the boomer that can be used. And it doesn't have to be everything, but it can be. I think what I have learned from Gen Zs is to probably be a little bit more open, a little bit more sensitive, and listen and understand that generationally things are moving. And so if to me, it's not about age. It's about how you stay relevant and whatever relevancy is to the time we're in. If you stick in 1976 and 78 when we worked, you're not going to be relevant, obviously. So it's 2024. We're heading towards the 30s. What's it going to take to be relevant? And that's going to be important to a 24-year-old and a 70-year-old. So I think that's so we have to be listening and be sensitive to that new voice, because you are the new voice that's going to take us forward, right?
Yeah, so you covered a lot of what I probably was thinking, which is not, I guess, listening, but it's really understanding our point of view, which is not coming from a bad place. It's coming from, we're not at a point where we're trying to make anybody do anything. If it's your mom and dad or Tony and Ray or bosses up the age levels at your shop, that kind of, competitive, I just want to win is kind of behind us now. We've either won or we haven't won. If we haven't won, you probably won't see us in the office. And if we have won, we're retired and we're doing podcasts or playing golf or hanging out on the beach. So I think it's really about understanding where the boomer is coming from, which is a place of we're just trying to help. I have no agenda. Where some people, I think, feel there's a little bit of like, you're trying to make me do something I don't want to do. No, not at all. Might have been born at night, but not last night. I have a little bit more to say. The thing I learned and love, I have 3 30-year-olds. I guess they might all be millennials at this point, but they were Gen Z at one point, and I think they've all stayed so true to themselves. And you are clearly that same person. Is they have a different way of going through life than we did. it's much more lateral than vertical. We just wanted to get up the corporate ladder, buy a house, dog, picket fence, married, kids, car. And now people are like, I want to be happy. I want to live a good life. You talked about, hey, I can go to the gym. I can have a healthy breakfast. I can travel. Never, ever crossed my mind. And so I love the lateral thinking about the entire world you live in. I just think I love it. I hope, and I do believe in you guys, that's probably going to be great over the long run too.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you can't thank you enough. You've really enlightened us a little bit. Hopefully our audience I know they're going to feel the same way. And, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to say, I didn't think of that, or that was, if you take one little gem, and I think there are gems in the conversation away, then that's a win. That's really what we're trying to do. And your input it has been great. So we thank you for joining us. You're a brave person. We wish you luck. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to, look out, 6 years from now when Sidney's 30 and just see where you are.
Yeah, we're going to be at season 6, episode 402. It's going to be awesome. You'll be welcome back anytime.
Yeah, I would love to come back, and hopefully down the road I can have some even more knowledge to speak on. I think we can all listen and learn from each other. So I love what you guys are doing, and keep on doing it. Can't wait to listen to more episodes.
Thanks. And that's it for episode 3. We'll see you all the next time.